The 12 lies you tell yourself every day. Stoicism. He who deceives himself is easily deceived by others. This ancient truth rings even louder today. Every day you feed yourself lies. Yes, you heard me. Lies that you allow to run like a broken record, making excuses for why you stay stuck, why you let fear control you, or why you think change is impossible. Have you ever told yourself you're not worthy, that you'll never break out of this cycle, or worse, that success is only for the fortunate? Trust me, you're not alone. But here's the hard truth. Those lies are just the walls you've built to shield yourself from reality. In Stoicism, there's no room for deception. You may not have power over external events, but you do have control over how you respond. Today, we're going to break down the 12 lies you keep telling yourself and uncover the truth behind them. Make sure to stick around for the last one. It might just blow your mind. Remember, you're the author of your own life. Will you keep writing the same old story, or are you ready to change the ending? Before we dive in, if these insights resonate with you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any valuable content. One of these 12 lies could open your eyes to a new perspective on life. Let's dive in. Number 1. I'm not good enough. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. Let's get real for a moment. Every single day there's a voice in your head, quietly but persistently whispering, "I'm not good enough." You're not alone in this. That voice, that doubt, is something nearly every man has heard at one time or another, especially when life hasn't gone according to plan. Maybe it was after a failure, a rejection, or even after watching others succeed while you feel stuck. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing you're not enough, that you're somehow missing something essential that others have. But here's the truth, plain and simple. You are enough. The real issue isn't that you lack value. It's that you've allowed this lie to take root in your mind and color the way you see yourself and the world around you. In Stoicism, the belief that external events shape our worth is a fundamental misunderstanding. The Stoics taught that our value comes not from what happens to us, but how we respond. Epictetus, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Think about that. You could fail 100 times, but if your mindset remains strong, if you keep getting back up, you're already miles ahead of the man who never tries. Yet the lie persists because it's comfortable. It allows you to sit in inaction, to avoid the discomfort of change. But here's the thing. Avoiding the discomfort of change only deepens the belief that you're not good enough. Every time you tell yourself this lie, you reinforce it, and over time it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, let's break this down. When you tell yourself, "I'm not good enough," what are you really saying? Are you saying that because you didn't achieve a certain goal you have no value? That because you weren't as successful as someone else, you're not worth anything? If that's the case, then understand this. Success is not a single, final destination. It's a process. And here's the key. Your worth is not tied to your accomplishments, your failures, or the opinions of others. In fact, one of the greatest truths of Stoicism is that your worth is intrinsic. You are born with value, and no external event can add to or take away from that. Man is disturbed not by things, but by the view he takes of them, Epictetus reminded once. So, what if we changed that view? What if, instead of saying, "I'm not good enough," you started to recognize your own inherent value? What if you saw failure not as a reflection of your worth, but as an opportunity for growth? This is where the Stoic mindset can transform your life. The Stoics believed in focusing only on what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, our responses. Everything else is out of our hands. And when you realize that, the weight of the world begins to lift. Modern life makes it all too easy to feel inadequate. We live in a society that constantly bombards us with images of success, wealth, and happiness. Social media, in particular, feeds the lie that everyone else is living a better life than you are. But here's a secret. What you see is not reality. It's a highlight reel. Everyone has struggles, doubts, and failures. They just don't broadcast them. And yet, because you compare your behind the scenes to their highlight reel, you come away feeling like you're not enough. Comparison is the thief of joy, as Theodore Roosevelt once said. And he was right. Every time you compare yourself to others, you rob yourself of the happiness that comes from simply being you. To bring this into your life, start by catching yourself the next time you think, "I'm not good enough." Recognize it for what it is, a lie. Then, replace that thought with a truth. I have value because I exist. I am worthy because I am. It's not easy, but nothing worth doing ever is. Every time you replace a negative thought with a positive truth, you're reshaping your mind, bit by bit, into a stronger, more resilient version of yourself. The Stoics would also advise you to take action. Well-being is realized by small steps, but it is truly no small thing. Zeno of Citium. Action builds confidence. The more you push yourself to act, to challenge that inner voice, the more you'll see that you are indeed enough. You'll begin to notice that the limits you thought existed are nothing but illusions, shadows cast by the lies you've been telling yourself. So let's leave the lies behind. You are good enough. You always were. The question now is, will you act like it? Will you choose to believe in your worth, or will you continue to let the lie control you? The choice is yours, and in the words of Seneca, it is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult. Dare to believe in yourself. Dare to see the truth. And dare to live the life you were meant to live. Not one of self-doubt and fear, but one of strength, resilience, and above all, self-respect. Number 2. I'll never change. How often have you caught yourself thinking, "I'll never change"? Maybe it slips into your mind during moments of frustration or disappointment, like when you've tried and failed at something for the 100th time. Or perhaps it sneaks in when you're reflecting on a bad habit you can't seem to break. You've convinced yourself that this is who you are, for better or worse, and that no matter what you do, you're stuck. It feels like a prison, doesn't it? This idea that you can't change has become so deeply ingrained in your mind that it feels like a universal truth. But here's the thing. It's not. That thought, that belief, is nothing but another lie you've told yourself over and over again until it became comfortable. It allows you to stay in your comfort zone, avoiding the hard work of growth and transformation. But comfort zones, as you know, are the enemies of progress. Let's take a step back for a moment and think about how this lie has shaped your life. How many opportunities have you missed because you believed you couldn't change? How many dreams have you left unrealized because you've convinced yourself that change was impossible? It's not just about big things either. Small daily habits are where this lie really creeps in. You tell yourself you'll never be able to stick to that new fitness routine, or that you'll never develop the discipline to wake up early and take control of your day. You've tried before, right? And each time you didn't follow through, you use that as evidence to support the belief that you'll never change. But here's the truth. Failure isn't proof that change is impossible. In fact, failure is just another step on the path to success, as long as you don't let it stop you. The Stoics were big on this idea. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." You see, the key to change isn't about avoiding failure or hardship. It's about how you respond to those challenges. Think about modern life for a second. You see people reinvent themselves all the time, don't you? Celebrities, entrepreneurs, even regular people you know. They go through phases, face setbacks, and somehow come out stronger, better, more refined versions of themselves. Why do you think they can do it, but you can't? The reality is, change is not reserved for the few. It's available to anyone who's willing to put in the effort and face the discomfort of growth. One of the most powerful stories I can think of that speaks to this is the transformation of a man named James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits. James wasn't always successful. In fact, he had to rebuild his entire life after a near-fatal injury that left him feeling helpless and broken. But instead of accepting that as his fate, he started small, focusing on tiny changes, incremental improvements, that eventually led him to become one of the foremost experts on habits and personal growth today. He didn't change overnight, but by making consistent, small improvements, he transformed his life. Does this sound like someone who believed they could never change? No. He saw that change is possible for everyone, even in the face of extreme adversity. And if someone can come back from that, what makes you think that you can't change too? Now, let's talk about you. If you've convinced yourself that you'll never change, I want to ask you a question. What are you so afraid of? Is it the fear of failure again? The fear of judgment from others? Or maybe the fear that even if you do change, it won't be enough? Whatever your fear is, acknowledge it. Give it a name, but don't let it rule you. Fear is just another emotion that passes through you, like any other. And guess what? Fear of change is natural. Everyone has it. But the people who grow, the ones who thrive, are the ones who feel the fear and take action anyway. The Stoics believe that we are in control of our choices, and our choices shape who we become. Marcus Aurelius put it best when he said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." In other words, your ability to change starts in your mind. It's the moment you decide that you will no longer let this lie, "I'll never change," dictate your life. It's the moment you realize that every small action you take, every time you push through discomfort, brings you closer to the person you want to be. Change is not some monumental shift that happens overnight. It's the little things, the choices you make every day, that compound over time. It's waking up 10 minutes earlier to start your day with intention. It's choosing to make one healthier meal. It's reading one page of a book instead of scrolling through your phone. These small steps lead to big transformations. So, what will you do with this truth? Will you continue to believe the lie that you'll never change? Or will you take control of your mind, your habits, and your life? Change is not easy, but it's always possible. And it's not just possible, it's inevitable if you take the right actions consistently. In the words of Seneca, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. The ending of your old belief that you cannot change marks the beginning of your transformation. The only question is, are you ready to take that step? Because once you do, the possibilities are endless. The key lesson here is this: change is within your reach, and it's not about becoming someone entirely new. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, one small decision at a time. The path to change may be long and difficult, but as long as you're willing to walk it, you'll never be stuck. And that, my friend, is the ultimate power you hold. So, the next time you hear that voice saying, "I'll never change," remember, it's just a lie, and you have the power to rewrite the script of your life. Number 3. Success is only for the lucky ones. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Seneca. How many times have you looked at someone who has achieved great things and thought, they're just lucky? It's one of the easiest lies to believe because it absolves you from having to take action or face the reality of hard work. You see someone who has the success, the wealth, the recognition, and deep down, it's easier to convince yourself that they were just in the right place at the right time. But here's the truth. Success isn't about luck. Sure, opportunities can appear unexpectedly, but the people who grab them are the ones who've prepared, who've worked tirelessly behind the scenes, and who've built the skills necessary to seize that moment when it arrives. Think about it for a second. If success were truly just luck, then why do so many people who win the lottery go broke just a few years later? Or why do those who inherit wealth often squander it? It's because without preparation, without the mindset and discipline that real success requires, any stroke of luck is fleeting. The reality is that success, in any field or aspect of life, is built on consistency, effort, and learning from failure. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly dedicated yourself to a goal? Not just for a few days or weeks, but relentlessly, day in and day out? And when things got tough, did you push through, or did you give up, telling yourself it wasn't meant to be? This is the difference between those who succeed and those who don't. It's not about some magical stroke of fortune. It's about showing up every single day, even when the results aren't immediate. This is where Stoicism can help. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength, said Marcus Aurelius. In other words, you can't control what opportunities come your way, but you can absolutely control your preparation, your mindset, and how you respond when those opportunities arise. Think about the countless stories of people who rose from seemingly impossible circumstances to achieve success. Were they just lucky? Consider someone like Oprah Winfrey, who grew up in extreme poverty and faced significant hardships throughout her early life. Was her incredible success the result of pure luck? Or was it her relentless dedication, her ability to learn from every failure, and her decision to keep going when most would have quit? Oprah didn't rely on luck to build her empire. She created her own opportunities by putting in the work and preparing herself mentally and emotionally for success. So when the right opportunity came along, she was ready. The same goes for people like Elon Musk, who faced massive failures with companies like Tesla and SpaceX but pushed forward regardless. They weren't waiting around for some external force to hand them success on a silver platter. They made it happen through determination, perseverance, and hard work. Now here's a question for you. Do you want to wait around for success to fall into your lap, or do you want to actively create it? Because if you're waiting for luck to carry you to your goals, you're likely going to be waiting a very long time. The Stoics understood that control is an illusion when it comes to external events. However, they emphasized personal responsibility. You may not be able to control every outcome, but you can control your efforts, your thoughts, and how you respond to challenges. And that's where real success comes from. Not from the randomness of luck, but from the intentional actions you take every day. Let's bring this idea into modern life. Social media makes it easy to compare yourself to others. You scroll through Instagram or Facebook and see people flaunting their successes, whether it's a new promotion, a luxury vacation, or a big milestone, and it feels like they must have gotten lucky. But what you don't see are the countless hours they spent working behind the scenes. You don't see the sacrifices they made, the failures they endured, or the sleepless nights they pushed through. What you're witnessing is just the highlight reel, not the full picture. The next time you find yourself thinking that someone else's success is due to luck, remember that they likely put in a tremendous amount of work to get there. And you can too. You just need to stop believing that lie and start focusing on what you can control: your effort, your growth, and your persistence. Seneca wisely said, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." So, if you're sitting around waiting for success to knock on your door, ask yourself this: are you prepared? Are you honing your skills, building your resilience, and readying yourself for when the opportunity does come? Or are you using the excuse of luck to avoid doing the hard work? The truth is, most people don't achieve success because they're not willing to put in the effort. They want the result, but not the process. But that's not how life works. If you want the reward, you have to embrace the process, setbacks and all. Every step, even the failures, is part of building the foundation for success. So, let's drop the lie that success is only for the lucky ones. Instead, recognize that success is available to anyone willing to put in the work and consistently show up, even when the odds seem stacked against them. The lesson here is simple. Preparation is key. If you put in the time, if you remain dedicated, success will eventually find you, not because of luck, but because you'll have created the conditions for it to thrive. The road may be long and the journey hard, but if you remain steadfast in your efforts, you'll see that success is not just for the fortunate few, it's for those who commit to the process of growth, learning, and self-improvement. So, the next time you're tempted to think that success is out of your reach, remember that you have the power to create your own opportunities. The only question left is, are you willing to put in the work? Number 4, I have to be perfect. Better to trip with the feet than with the tongue. Zeno of Citium. Let's start with this truth. Perfection is a myth. But how many times have you felt the crushing pressure to be perfect? Maybe it was at work, where you felt like you couldn't make a single mistake, or in your relationships, where you convinced yourself that any flaw would be enough to drive others away. You tell yourself that you have to be perfect in everything you do, and it's exhausting. This lie, I have to be perfect, has trapped you in a cycle of stress and frustration. It convinces you that if you're not flawless, you're somehow less worthy. But here's the hard truth. Perfection is not only impossible, it's unnecessary. In fact, it's your imperfections and struggles that make you grow, learn, and ultimately succeed. This isn't just about accepting failure as part of the process. It's about understanding that the pursuit of perfection will hold you back far more than any flaw ever could. Think about this in the context of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics never preached perfection. They believed in progress, in growth, and in the idea that human beings are always works in progress. Marcus Aurelius himself said, "Do not be ashamed of needing help. You have a duty to fulfill, just like a soldier on the wall. So what if you are injured and can't climb up without another soldier's help?" This speaks directly to the heart of the lie of perfectionism. The moment you believe you have to do everything on your own, flawlessly, is the moment you trap yourself in a cage of your own making. The Stoics understood that no man is perfect, and that perfection isn't what makes you valuable. It's your effort, your discipline, and your willingness to learn from mistakes that make you truly great. So, why do we still cling to this idea of perfection? In modern life, it's easy to see how the lie persists. Social media bombards us with images of perfect lives, perfect bodies, and perfect careers. It's almost impossible not to feel inadequate when everyone else seems to have it all together. But here's what no one talks about. Those perfect lives you see online? They're curated, they're filtered, they're not real. Just like you, everyone else is struggling with their own imperfections and failures. They just don't show it. The problem with perfectionism is that it keeps you from taking action. You become so focused on getting things exactly right that you end up doing nothing. Perfection is the enemy of progress. As Winston Churchill once said, and it couldn't be truer today, every time you tell yourself you have to be perfect, you're giving yourself an excuse to stay stuck, to not move forward. Because guess what? You'll never reach that imaginary finish line where everything is flawless. Let's dig a little deeper. Have you ever delayed starting something because you weren't sure if you'd do it perfectly? Maybe it was a project at work, a new business idea, or even a personal goal like getting in shape or improving a relationship. You waited, telling yourself you'd begin when the right time came, when you felt more ready, more prepared. But the truth is, that time never comes. There will always be something that feels unfinished or not good enough. And if you let that stop you, you'll never get started at all. Here's a question for you. What would happen if you accepted that you don't have to be perfect to make progress? What if you embraced the fact that mistakes are not only inevitable, but necessary for growth? This brings us to the concept of falling forward. The idea is simple. When you make mistakes, you're not falling backward. You're falling forward, learning with every misstep, getting closer to where you want to be. Failure, in this sense, is a tool for growth. not something to be feared or avoided. The Stoics understood this well. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way, said Marcus Aurelius. In other words, your failures and imperfections are not barriers to success. They are the very path to success. Every time you fail, every time you stumble, you're learning something invaluable. You're getting stronger, wiser, more resilient. In modern life, embracing imperfection is even more important. We live in a world where constant self-improvement is pushed as the ultimate goal. But if you're always chasing perfection, you'll never appreciate the progress you've already made. It's like running a marathon and never feeling satisfaction because you're focused on the last mile, rather than celebrating the fact that you're halfway there. How much energy are you wasting on trying to be flawless, when that same energy could be used to make meaningful progress? Instead of aiming for perfection, aim for consistency. Show up every day, even when it's hard, even when you feel like you're not doing your best. That's where real growth happens. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts, said Churchill. This courage to keep going despite imperfection is what will ultimately lead you to success. The key lesson here is to stop letting the lie of perfectionism hold you back. You don't have to be perfect to be successful, to be loved, or to be happy. What you need is the willingness to take action, to make mistakes, and to learn from them. Perfection is not the goal. Progress is. So the next time you hear that voice in your head telling you that you have to be perfect, remind yourself of this. Perfection is an illusion, and it's your imperfections that make you human, that make you stronger, and that make your success even more meaningful. Now ask yourself, what could you achieve if you stopped trying to be perfect and started focusing on making progress, one imperfect step at a time? Thank you for joining us in today's video. Before we move on, I want to take a moment to express my gratitude. It's truly a pleasure to have you as a member of our Stoic in Your Life community. Feel free to share your thoughts or story in the comments. And if you're not sure what to say, just comment. I am a newbie. If you've recently joined us, or I am Stoic. If you've been part of this journey for a while, your engagement not only reflects your presence, but also inspires us to keep going. All right, let's continue this journey together, shall we? Number 5. I always have to please others. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Epictetus. How often have you found yourself bending over backward to make others happy, even at the expense of your own well-being? You convince yourself that you must please everyone, that you have to be agreeable, and that making others happy is the only way to avoid conflict or judgment. But here's the thing. That belief, the one that says, I always have to please others, is a lie that keeps you trapped in a cycle of exhaustion and frustration. Why? Because the truth is, no matter what you do, you'll never be able to please everyone. There will always be someone who finds fault, who isn't satisfied with what you offer, or who simply disagrees with your choices. And by trying to please everyone, you end up losing sight of the most important person in the equation: yourself. In Stoicism, one of the key teachings is that we cannot control how others think or react to us. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Trying to please everyone is an attempt to control the uncontrollable. You're attempting to manipulate how others see you, hoping that by being agreeable or accommodating, you'll avoid their disapproval. But no matter how hard you try, the opinions of others will remain outside your control. What you can control, however, is how you choose to respond to this pressure to please others. You can choose to prioritize your values, your well-being, and your happiness over the impossible task of satisfying everyone else. And believe me, this shift will free you from the weight of constantly worrying about what others think. Let's bring this into modern life. Think about how social media amplifies the pressure to please others. You post a photo, an opinion, or a piece of your life, and you anxiously wait for the likes and comments to roll in. If people approve, you feel good about yourself. If they don't, you start questioning everything. We've all been there, haven't we? But here's the problem. Basing your self-worth on the approval of others is like building a house on quicksand. It's unstable, shifting, and bound to collapse. The Stoics believed that true happiness comes from within, from living according to your own principles, not from seeking validation from the outside world. So why do we keep falling into the trap of people-pleasing? Because on some level we believe that if we can just make others happy, we'll be accepted, loved, or respected. But the reality is that by constantly trying to make others happy, we often end up sacrificing our own sense of self in the process. A great example of this comes from the story of Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple. Jobs was known for being anything but a people-pleaser. In fact, his relentless focus on what he believed was right, rather than what would please others, is what led to his incredible success. Jobs wasn't concerned with making everyone like him. He was concerned with staying true to his vision, even if that meant facing criticism or rejection. And in the end, it was his refusal to compromise or please others that led to Apple becoming one of the most innovative companies in the world. So, ask yourself, are you willing to compromise your vision, your values, and your happiness just to make others happy? Or are you ready to take control of your life and stop living in fear of others' opinions? The next time you feel the urge to please someone, pause and ask yourself why. Are you doing it because it aligns with your values, or are you doing it out of fear? Fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of being seen as selfish? Remember, the Stoics taught that fear is something we must confront and overcome if we want to live freely. It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live, said Marcus Aurelius. If you're constantly living to please others, you're not truly living for yourself. You're letting fear dictate your actions rather than your own inner wisdom. This brings us to the importance of boundaries. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you're being selfish or unkind. It means you're protecting your energy and your mental health. When you set a boundary, you're telling others and yourself that your well-being matters. That doesn't mean you stop caring about others or being considerate of their needs, but it does mean you stop sacrificing your own happiness to meet their demands. Boundaries are a form of self-respect, and the more you practice setting them, the less you'll feel the need to please everyone around you. Think about your own life. How many times have you said yes to something you didn't want to do because you were afraid of disappointing someone? How often have you gone along with something, even though it didn't sit right with you because you wanted to avoid conflict? Every time you do this, you're reinforcing the lie that you have to please others to be accepted. But here's the truth. The people who truly matter in your life will respect you more when you're honest, when you stand up for yourself, and when you live in alignment with your values. It's those who only want you around when you're pleasing them that you need to worry about, because they aren't seeing you for who you really are. They're seeing you as a tool for their own satisfaction. So, what's the lesson here? The next time you catch yourself trying to please someone, stop and ask yourself, am I doing this because it's true to who I am? Or am I doing this because I'm afraid of what they'll think if I don't? The moment you start living for yourself, rather than for the approval of others, is the moment you reclaim your freedom. You don't have to be everything to everyone. In fact, you can't be. But you can be true to yourself, and in doing so, you'll find that the right people will come into your life. Those who respect you for who you are, not for how well you please them. The key message is this: you are not responsible for other people's happiness. You are responsible for your own. Pleasing others might bring temporary peace, but it won't bring lasting happiness. It's time to stop living in fear of disapproval and start living in alignment with your values, your needs, and your truth. The only question left is, are you ready to let go of the need to please others and finally start pleasing yourself? Number 6. I don't have time for myself. Beware the barrenness of a busy life. Socrates. How many times have you caught yourself saying, "I don't have time for myself"? It's a phrase that slips off the tongue so easily, almost as if it's a badge of honor in today's fast-paced world. Whether it's because of work, family responsibilities, or social obligations, the idea of taking time for yourself seems like a luxury you simply can't afford. But let's pause for a moment and really think about that. Is it true that you don't have time for yourself? Or is this just another lie you tell yourself to avoid confronting the uncomfortable reality that you're not prioritizing your own well-being? The Stoics, who were masters at recognizing and eliminating distractions, believed that time was one of our most valuable resources. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it, said Seneca. And when you tell yourself you don't have time for yourself, what you're really saying is that you're choosing to spend your time on everything else but you. Now, don't get me wrong. Life is demanding. We have jobs, families, and commitments that pull us in a million directions. But the truth is, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. The difference between those who make time for themselves and those who don't isn't about having fewer responsibilities. It's about understanding that taking care of yourself is not selfish. It's necessary. Think about it this way. If you're constantly pouring your energy into work, into others, into tasks that drain you, what's left for you? The answer is simple: burnout. You end up running on empty, and the people you're trying to support, the work you're doing, and the goals you're chasing all suffer as a result. You can't give from an empty cup. So here's a question. What would happen if you made time for yourself even just a little bit each day? What if, instead of seeing time for yourself as a luxury, you started seeing it as a necessity for your overall well-being? Modern life has a way of glorifying busyness. You wake up, check your phone, answer emails, rush through your morning routine, and dive into the day's demands without even taking a moment to breathe. Before you know it, the day is over, and once again you tell yourself that there just wasn't enough time for you. But here's the reality. There's always time. The Stoics knew this well. Marcus Aurelius, despite being an emperor with endless responsibilities, would take time each morning to reflect, journal, and center himself. He understood that in order to lead others, he first had to take care of his own mind and spirit. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. Aurelius wrote, "If the most powerful man in the world could make time for himself, surely you can find a few moments each day to do the same." Let's bring this into today's context. One of the main reasons people say they don't have time for themselves is because they're overwhelmed by technology. Social media, emails, texts, and notifications constantly steal our attention. Have you ever found yourself mindlessly scrolling through your phone, only to realize that hours have passed and you've done nothing for yourself? We live in an age where distraction is always just a click away, and these distractions make it easy to avoid the more meaningful, restorative activities that actually nourish us. So the next time you feel like you don't have time for yourself, ask yourself, how am I really spending my time? Are you truly too busy, or are you allowing distractions to eat up the time you could be using for yourself? It's also important to recognize that taking time for yourself doesn't have to be a grand gesture. You don't need to block out hours in your day to feel recharged. Start small. It could be as simple as taking 10 minutes in the morning to sit quietly with your thoughts, to reflect on what you're grateful for, or to focus on your breathing. Maybe it's going for a short walk during your lunch break, or reading a few pages of a book before bed. The point is, these small moments add up, and they make a world of difference in how you feel. When you make time for yourself, even in small increments, you're telling yourself that you matter, that your mental and physical health are priorities, not afterthoughts. Think about a time when you carved out time for yourself. Maybe it was a weekend away, a long walk in nature, or even just an hour of uninterrupted quiet time. How did it make you feel? Chances are you felt recharged, more at peace, and more capable of handling whatever life threw at you. That's the power of taking time for yourself. It refuels you. It reminds you that life is more than just tasks and obligations. It's about finding moments of joy, reflection, and personal growth amidst the chaos. So why do we so often deny ourselves this basic necessity? One of the most dangerous aspects of believing you don't have time for yourself is that it slowly erodes your sense of self-worth. You begin to believe that your needs don't matter as much as everyone else's. You tell yourself that as long as your work gets done and others are happy, that's all that counts. But this couldn't be further from the truth. He who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with the universe, said Marcus Aurelius. You cannot truly live a fulfilling life if you're constantly neglecting yourself. And here's a truth that might surprise you. The more time you give to yourself, the better you'll be at everything else. You'll have more energy, more clarity, and more patience. You'll be more present with the people you care about and more effective in your work. It's not about choosing between taking care of yourself and taking care of others. It's about realizing that the two are deeply connected. So, what's the lesson here? The next time you find yourself saying, "I don't have time for myself," pause and reflect on whether that's really true. Are you truly too busy, or are you just not prioritizing yourself? Because here's the reality. If you don't make time for yourself, no one else will. The world will always demand more from you, but it's up to you to protect your time, your energy, and your well-being. The Stoics understood this, and so should you. Time is a created thing. To say I don't have time is to say I don't want to, said Lao Tzu. It's time to stop making excuses and start making yourself a priority. The only question left is, what will you do with the time you have? Number 7. My problems are unique. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. How many times have you found yourself thinking, my problems are unique? It's easy to believe that what you're going through is something no one else can truly understand. Maybe it's a career setback, a relationship issue, or even the inner battles you fight with yourself. You might feel isolated, as though your problems are somehow different from those of others. But here's the hard truth. Your problems aren't as unique as you think. This belief that you alone are dealing with something that no one else could possibly relate to is a lie. It's a lie that keeps you stuck, disconnected, and distanced from others who could help or offer insight. The Stoics taught us that while the details of our challenges might vary, the human experience is universal. Everyone faces adversity, everyone experiences hardship, and everyone feels the weight of their struggles. Marcus Aurelius said it best. Nothing happens to any man that he is not formed by nature to bear. When you convince yourself that your problems are unique, you set yourself apart from others, cutting off the possibility of connection or learning from shared experiences. You isolate yourself, and in doing so, make your struggles feel heavier than they really are. In reality, though, billions of people have faced challenges similar to yours throughout history. They've dealt with failure, loss, rejection, and uncertainty, just as you are now, and many of them have come out the other side stronger for it. So, what makes you any different? The truth is, you're not. The very fact that you're human means that you will face the same core challenges as others before you, and your ability to overcome them lies in the lessons that history, philosophy, and life can teach you. If your problems were truly unique, then there would be no room for wisdom, no space for shared growth. But because our struggles are part of the human condition, there's a roadmap, a way forward. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus taught, difficulties are things that show a person what they are. Your problems are not meant to be unique. They're meant to show you what you're capable of overcoming. Let's bring this idea into modern life. Think about how we often view our personal struggles through a lens that magnifies them, making them feel overwhelming. Whether it's stress at work, financial burdens, or relationship conflicts, it's easy to think, no one else is dealing with this exact thing, But consider this. How many people in the world are facing similar circumstances right now? Millions of people experience stress from their jobs, worry about their finances, or face challenges in their relationships every single day. Your problems, while deeply personal, are not exclusive to you. This realization doesn't minimize what you're going through, but it offers perspective. And with perspective comes a certain peace. When you realize that others have walked this path before, and that many are walking it right now, you're reminded that you're not alone in your struggle. That realization opens up the possibility of learning from others, whether through advice, shared experiences, or the timeless wisdom found in philosophy. Take, for example, the story of Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. Frankl endured unimaginable suffering during his time in concentration camps, yet he emerged with a profound understanding of life's meaning. He realized that while he couldn't control his external circumstances, he had control over how he responded to them. He wrote in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, that when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Frankl's problems weren't unique in the sense that others in the camps were also enduring unimaginable hardships, but what set him apart was how he chose to interpret and face those challenges. His story reminds us that it's not the uniqueness of our problems that matters, it's how we choose to deal with them. Now, here's a question for you. How would your outlook change if you stopped viewing your problems as unique, but rather as part of the shared human experience? By shifting your mindset, you open yourself up to solutions and insights that others have discovered before you. You stop feeling like you're the only one in the world struggling, and you start seeing the commonality of human experience. This doesn't mean your problems will magically disappear, but it does mean that you'll find strength in knowing that others have faced similar challenges and come through them. You'll realize that there are resources, whether in the form of wisdom from Stoicism, advice from others, or lessons from history, that can help guide you through even the darkest times. Let's take a modern-day example. Think about the pressures of modern life, juggling a career, personal life, financial responsibilities, and the expectations society places on us. It's easy to believe that your stress is singular, that no one else could possibly understand how overwhelmed you feel. But the reality is, millions of people are feeling the same pressures. They, too, are struggling to balance work and life, trying to figure out how to manage their time, money, and energy. In these moments, it's essential to remember that you're not alone, and more importantly, that others have found ways to navigate these challenges. The solutions might not always be obvious, but they exist. By acknowledging that your problems aren't unique, you give yourself permission to seek help, to reach out, and to learn from the experience of others. And that's where real growth happens. When you stop thinking that you're isolated and start tapping into the collective wisdom around you. So what's the lesson here? The next time you catch yourself thinking, "My problems are unique," challenge that thought. Remind yourself that you're not the first to face these difficulties and you won't be the last. Instead of seeing your problems as exceptional, see them as opportunities to learn, grow, and connect with the wisdom of others. As Seneca said, "What progress, you ask, have I made? I have begun to be a friend to myself." When you stop isolating yourself and your problems and start becoming a friend to yourself, you open the door to healing, understanding, and growth. Your problems aren't unique, but your strength in overcoming them will be. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by what life throws at you, remember this: you are not alone in your struggles, and you never have to be. Number 8. Happiness is in the future. True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. Seneca. How often do you find yourself thinking, "I'll be happy when..." Maybe you've convinced yourself that happiness is something that will come after you achieve a certain goal, after you get the promotion, after you buy that house, or after you lose that weight. It's easy to push happiness into the future, isn't it? You tell yourself that once the circumstances of your life are just right, then you'll finally allow yourself to be happy. But here's the hard truth. Happiness is not in the future. It's not something you'll stumble upon after reaching some milestone or crossing some finish line. It's not a reward waiting for you in a distant time or place. The idea that happiness is in the future is a lie. A lie that keeps you from enjoying the life you have right now. The Stoics believed that happiness is a state of mind, not a set of circumstances. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor, said Seneca. If you're constantly waiting for happiness to come later, you'll never experience it in the present. Let's take a step back and think about what this belief does to you. When you believe that happiness is something that exists only in the future, you essentially put your life on hold. You become a prisoner of someday. You're always looking ahead, chasing the next achievement, thinking that it will bring you the contentment you crave. But life doesn't work that way. The more you chase happiness, the more it seems to slip through your fingers. Why? Because happiness isn't a destination, it's a way of being. The Stoics understood this well. They believed that true contentment comes from within, from your ability to appreciate what you have right now, rather than constantly longing for more. He who is not satisfied with a little is satisfied with nothing, said Epictetus. If you're always waiting for happiness to arrive in the future, you'll never feel it in the present. Now think about how this plays out in modern life. We live in a society that constantly encourages us to chase the next big thing. Advertisements, social media, and even the people around us send the message that happiness is just around the corner. If you work hard enough, if you buy this product, if you achieve this goal. But have you ever noticed how fleeting that happiness is when you do reach one of those milestones? You get the promotion, and for a moment you feel accomplished. But then the feeling fades and suddenly you're looking for the next thing. It's like running on a treadmill. No matter how fast you go, you're not getting anywhere. This cycle of chasing future happiness leaves you feeling empty and unfulfilled, because you're not actually living in the moment. The point is, happiness doesn't come from acquiring more, but from wanting less. So what's stopping you from being happy right now? Let me tell you a story about a man who seemed to have everything. We'll call him John. John was successful in his career, well respected, and had a beautiful family. But despite all of his achievements, John always felt like something was missing. He told himself that he would finally be happy when he reached the next level in his career, when he moved into a bigger house, or when his kids were older. He spent years chasing after these future moments, always believing that happiness was just around the corner. But no matter what he achieved, that feeling of contentment never came. One day, John had a conversation with a close friend who asked him, "Why are you always waiting to be happy? What if happiness is something you can choose to feel today?" That simple question shifted John's perspective. He realized that he had been delaying his own happiness, constantly telling himself that it would come later, instead of embracing the present moment. John started practicing gratitude, focusing on the blessings in his life right now, and something amazing happened. He felt happier, more fulfilled, without needing anything more. Now ask yourself, how many times have you delayed your own happiness? How often do you tell yourself that you'll be happy once you've achieved something specific or once your circumstances change? What if, like John, you decided to be happy today, instead of waiting for some future event to bring it to you? The Stoics would remind you that the only time you truly have is the present. The past is gone, the future is uncertain, but the present is where life happens. Marcus Aurelius said, "Confine yourself to the present." When you focus too much on the future, you rob yourself of the joy and peace that exists in this very moment. So why not choose to be happy now, instead of putting it off? In today's world, it's easy to get caught up in the idea that more success, more money, or more recognition will make you happy. But think about the people who have everything society says should make them happy. Celebrities, billionaires, People who have reached the pinnacle of success. Many of them are still searching for happiness. Why? Because happiness isn't found in external achievements, it's found in your mindset. The more you practice contentment and gratitude for what you already have, the more happiness you'll experience. As Epictetus said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. So, what's the lesson here? The next time you find yourself thinking, I'll be happy when, stop and ask yourself, why can't I be happy now? Happiness isn't waiting for you in some distant future. It's available to you in this moment, if you choose to embrace it. You don't need to achieve more, be more, or have more to feel contentment. You just need to shift your focus from what you lack to what you already have. Practice gratitude, be present, and recognize that happiness isn't something you find, it's something you create. As the Stoics remind us, happiness is not an ideal of reason, but of imagination. The only thing standing between you and happiness is the belief that it's somewhere in the future. Let go of that belief and start living in the present. If you've made it this far, you're truly embracing the path of self-awareness. Drop a comment saying, I am breaking the lies. To show you're committed to overcoming these limiting beliefs, stick around because your journey to a stronger, wiser self has just begun. Number 9. I have no control over my life. It's an easy lie to believe when things seem chaotic. Maybe your job feels unpredictable, or your relationships are strained. Maybe it feels like no matter what you do, external forces always win, leaving you powerless and stuck in the same situations over and over again. But here's the truth. The idea that you have no control over your life is just that. A lie. You might not be able to control everything, but the Stoics knew that you always have control over one crucial thing, your mindset. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, reminded us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. In other words, while you can't dictate every external event, you are always in control of your response, your attitude, and ultimately, your perspective on life. So, what does it mean to have control over your life? It doesn't mean you control every single outcome. Life will always be full of unpredictability. Other people's actions, the economy, health issues, or even accidents. These are things you simply cannot manage, no matter how much you try. But where you do have power is in how you respond to these external events. This is the core of Stoic wisdom. The Stoics believed that real power lies in our ability to maintain inner peace, regardless of the chaos swirling around us. When you focus on what you can control, your thoughts, your reactions, your actions, you begin to shift your mindset from helplessness to empowerment. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start taking ownership of your role in how your life unfolds. Let's take a closer look at how this idea plays out in modern life. Have you ever had a day where everything seems to go wrong? Maybe you woke up late, spilled coffee on yourself, got stuck in traffic, and then had a rough day at work. By the end of it, you felt like the universe was conspiring against you. It's easy in these moments to feel like you're powerless, like you have no control over anything. But what if, instead of reacting to each setback with frustration or defeat, you chose to see it differently? Instead of cursing the traffic, you could use that time to listen to an inspiring podcast. Instead of letting a bad day at work ruin your evening, you could go home, take a deep breath, and enjoy time with your family. You might not control the traffic or the way your workday unfolds, but you absolutely control how you respond to these situations. And that's where real control over your life begins, by mastering your reactions. This brings us to an important question. What would your life look like if you focused only on what you could control? Think about how much energy you waste worrying about things that are out of your hands. Whether it's the outcome of a project, someone else's opinion of you, or the state of the world. None of these things are within your control. But what is within your control is how you choose to engage with these things. Are you going to let them drain you, Or are you going to focus on the actions you can take to move forward? The Stoics believed that happiness and fulfillment come from aligning your efforts with what's within your power. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, stop worrying about external events and start focusing on how you can respond to them with wisdom and integrity. Let me tell you a story that illustrates this. There was a man named James Stockdale, an American pilot who was shot down and held as a prisoner of war for 7 years in Vietnam. He endured unimaginable suffering, torture, isolation, and deprivation. But Stockdale survived, and not only that, he emerged stronger because of his mindset. He embraced Stoic principles, focusing on what he could control: his attitude, his resilience, and his ability to endure. He couldn't control his captors, he couldn't control the conditions, but he could control how he responded. And that mindset was what allowed him to survive. He famously said, "I never lost faith in the end of the story." Stockdale's story is a powerful reminder that while we may not control our circumstances, we always have control over how we face them. In modern life, the same principle applies. You may not be a prisoner of war, but you might feel trapped by other circumstances. Maybe it's a toxic work environment, financial struggles, or a challenging relationship. It's easy to feel like these things have taken away your control. But just like Stockdale, you can focus on what you can control, how you choose to respond to the challenges in front of you. You can take small steps to change your situation, or if the situation is unchangeable, you can work on changing your mindset. By shifting your focus to what's within your power, you reclaim control over your life. Instead of feeling like life is happening to you, you start to see that you have agency, and that agency is a form of freedom. So, the next time you catch yourself thinking, "I have no control over my life," stop and ask yourself, what can I control at this moment? It could be as simple as choosing to change your attitude, taking a positive action, or reframing how you see a problem. You might not be able to change your circumstances overnight, but you can always control your approach to them. And when you start to master your responses, you'll find that life feels a lot less overwhelming. The Stoics believed that the key to happiness was found not in controlling the external world, but in mastering oneself. As Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not a master of himself." This is where real control lies, not in the external events of your life, but in your ability to navigate them with grace, wisdom, and strength. The lesson here is simple. You may not control every event in your life, but you always control your mind, your actions, and your responses. And in mastering those, you begin to take back control over your life in ways you never thought possible. So what will you choose to control today? Number 10, the past defines who I am. How many times have you found yourself thinking, "The past defines who I am"? It's a common belief, one that feels logical at first glance. After all, your experiences, mistakes, and even successes seem to shape your identity. You might look back at the things you've done, the wrong turns, the missed opportunities, or the painful moments, and think that these define you. But here's the truth. The past does not define who you are. It's easy to get trapped in a narrative where your identity is tied to things that have already happened, but that's a lie. The Stoics understood that, while the past informs us, it doesn't control us. Marcus Aurelius put it beautifully when he said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The past is an outside event. It's something that has already occurred, and it's beyond your control. What's within your control is how you choose to perceive and respond to it. Let's break this down. When you believe that the past defines who you are, you hand over your power to events that are already behind you. You carry the weight of old mistakes, regrets, and failures as if they are permanent markers of your character. But the Stoics would remind you that the only thing you can truly control is your present mindset and future actions. The the past is static, unchangeable and finished, but you are dynamic, capable of growth, and ever-changing. So, why let the past dictate your identity when you have the power to redefine yourself every single day? The Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." In other words, the past is simply a stepping stone toward who you can become. It doesn't determine your future unless you allow it to. Think about how this belief impacts your daily life. How many opportunities have you passed up because you told yourself, "I've failed before, so I'll fail again"? How many relationships have you damaged or avoided because you convinced yourself that you're not worthy due to past mistakes? This kind of thinking keeps you locked in a cycle of self-doubt and prevents you from growing. But here's the thing. Every day you have the chance to rewrite your story. Every morning you wake up is an opportunity to become someone new. You are not the same person you were 5 years ago, or even 5 minutes ago. Every choice you make in the present defines who you are far more than anything that happened in the past. Now let's apply this to modern life. Think about how much of our identity today is wrapped up in the digital age, social media posts, photos, and public records. It can feel like once something is out there, it's permanent. We live in a time where it seems impossible to escape past mistakes because everything feels so visible and unchangeable. But even in this world of constant digital reminders, the Stoics teach us that we are always more than the sum of our past actions. Your identity is not fixed in time. Just because you've made a mistake, failed at a job, or experienced a painful breakup, doesn't mean that's who you are forever. You have the power to grow beyond it. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." You have to be the master of your thoughts, your choices, and your beliefs, not a prisoner of your past. Consider the story of Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb. Edison failed thousands of times before he finally succeeded in creating a working light bulb. He could have easily let those failures define him, but instead, he saw them as learning experiences. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Edison understood that the past didn't define him, it informed him. Each failure was a stepping stone toward success, and it's that mindset that allowed him to push forward. So ask yourself, how would your life change if you viewed your past not as a definition of who you are, but as a guidepost for where you want to go? Another way to think about it is through the lens of self-compassion. We are often our own harshest critics, especially when it comes to our past. You may hold on to regret, thinking, "If only I had done things differently, my life would be better." But this way of thinking traps you in a loop of self-judgment and prevents you from moving forward. The Stoics teach us that the past is beyond our control. What matters is how we respond to it and what we do with the lessons it offers. Marcus Aurelius urged us to accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. This applies to your relationship with your past as well. Accept it, learn from it, and move forward with intention and purpose. Let's bring this into your personal life. Maybe you've made mistakes in your career. Maybe you've hurt someone you care about. Or maybe you've missed opportunities that you now regret. It's easy to let those things weigh you down, but ask yourself, is holding on to the past helping you in any way? The answer is likely no. The past cannot be changed, but your future is wide open. Every action you take today is an opportunity to shape who you will become. You are not defined by your past, unless you allow yourself to be. The Stoics would remind you that the only true failure is failing to learn from your experiences. Growth is always possible, and it's your responsibility to embrace it. So what's the lesson here? The next time you catch yourself thinking, "The past defines who I am," challenge that thought. Recognize it for what it is, a lie that keeps you stuck. Instead, Focus on the present moment and the choices you can make now. As Epictetus said, we should always be asking ourselves, is this something that is or is not in my control? The past is not in your control, but your present and future are. You have the power to redefine who you are starting today. Let go of the belief that your past limits you and embrace the reality that every moment is a new opportunity to create the life you want. You are not your past. You are the sum of your actions, choices, and mindset in this moment. So, what will you choose today? Number 11. Fear is a sign of weakness. He who fears death will never do anything worth of a man who is alive. Seneca. Fear. It's something we've all experienced, yet many of us are ashamed to admit it. You've probably told yourself, fear is a sign of weakness, thinking that the stronger you are, the less fear you should feel. But here's the truth. Fear is not a sign of weakness. It's simply a part of being human, and it's something we all encounter in one way or another. The real weakness lies not in feeling fear, but in letting it control you, letting it stop you from moving forward. The Stoics understood that fear is natural, but they also knew that how we respond to fear is what defines us. It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult, said Seneca. This is a reminder that fear doesn't make you weak. It's how you react to it that matters. So why do we equate fear with weakness? From an early age, we're taught that fear is something to be avoided, that bravery means the absence of fear. In reality, bravery is feeling the fear and taking action anyway. Fear can be a powerful motivator, but it's also one of the biggest obstacles standing in the way of your growth. If you believe that fear equals weakness, you'll avoid situations that push you outside your comfort zone, and in doing so, you limit your potential. Think about it. How many times have you backed away from an opportunity because fear crept in? Maybe it was a chance to speak up at work, to start a new business, or to pursue a relationship. In those moments, fear whispered, "You're not ready," or "You'll fail." But was that fear a weakness, or was it simply a challenge waiting for you to rise to the occasion? Fear, when faced head-on, becomes a tool for growth. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic emperors, faced fear constantly. He ruled during a time of war, plague, and political strife. But he didn't let fear paralyze him. Instead, he used Stoic philosophy to guide him through those uncertain times. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment, wrote Marcus Aurelius. In other words, fear doesn't come from the outside, it comes from within. It's how we perceive challenges that dictates whether we see them as insurmountable obstacles or opportunities to grow. The key is to recognize that fear is not something to be ashamed of, but something to understand and master. Think about modern life for a moment. We live in an age of constant pressure, where fear can manifest in so many ways. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of rejection. Social media amplifies these fears as we constantly compare ourselves to others and worry about how we're perceived. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that fear makes you weak, especially when it seems like everyone else has their life together. But let's be real. No one is immune to fear. Even the most successful people in the world feel it. The difference is that they don't let fear stop them. Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something else is more important than fear, said Ambrose Redmoon. The real question is, what are you letting fear stop you from achieving? A great example of overcoming fear is in the story of Michael Jordan. Jordan is widely regarded as one of the greatest basketball players of all time, but even he wasn't immune to fear and failure. He was famously cut from his high school basketball team, and throughout his career he faced moments of doubt and fear of not living up to expectations. But instead of letting that fear define him, he used it as fuel. He once said, "I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." Jordan didn't see fear as a weakness. He saw it as a challenge to overcome. It was this mindset that propelled him to greatness. So the next time fear creeps in, ask yourself, what could you achieve if you stopped seeing fear as a sign of weakness and started seeing it as an opportunity to grow stronger? Fear is often a signal that you're standing at the edge of your comfort zone, about to step into the unknown. And it's in that space where fear and uncertainty exist that growth happens. The Stoics would remind you that discomfort and fear are not to be avoided but embraced. They teach us that true strength comes from facing our fears head-on and continuing forward, no matter how daunting the path may seem. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." Fear often stems from worrying about things beyond your control. But if you focus on what is within your power, your actions, your mindset, your decisions, you'll find that fear begins to lose its grip on you. Number 12. Life should be easy. The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it. Epictetus. How many times have you caught yourself thinking, life should be easy? Maybe it was after a tough day at work, an argument with a loved one, or even when dealing with life's everyday challenges. It's a comforting lie to tell ourselves, isn't it? That if we just do things right, life will somehow fall into place, and everything will be smooth and effortless. But let's be honest, that's not how life works. The idea that life should be easy is a trap, one that keeps us from truly embracing the reality of the human experience. Life is full of challenges, obstacles, and setbacks, and it's precisely these difficulties that help us grow. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." If you believe that life is supposed to be easy, you'll find yourself constantly frustrated and disappointed when it doesn't turn out that way. Worse yet, you'll miss out on the growth and wisdom that come from facing challenges head-on. The truth is, life is not meant to be easy. It's meant to challenge you, to push you, and to help you become the best version of yourself. Think about it. When has anything worth achieving in your life come without effort? Whether it's a fulfilling career, a meaningful relationship, or personal growth, all of these things require hard work, resilience, and the willingness to face adversity. The Stoics believed that the struggles we encounter in life are not to be avoided, but embraced. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic emperors, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the very obstacles we face are what shape us. They are not barriers to our success, but the path to it. Let's break this down. When you believe that life should be easy, you set yourself up for a constant cycle of frustration. Every time you encounter a problem, it feels unfair, like the universe is working against you. But what if, instead of seeing problems as signs that something is wrong, you started viewing them as opportunities for growth? What if the challenges you face are actually stepping stones toward becoming stronger, wiser, and more resilient? The Stoics understood that life's hardships are not punishments, but tools for our personal development. "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality," said Seneca, reminding us that much of our suffering comes from our expectations. When you expect life to be easy, every difficulty feels like a failure. But when you accept that challenges are a natural part of life, you start to see them differently. They become opportunities to learn and grow, rather than obstacles to avoid. Think about modern life for a moment. We live in an age of convenience, where everything seems designed to make life easier. Instant access to information, fast food, same-day delivery. But has this ease made us happier, or has it made us more impatient, more frustrated when things don't go our way? The belief that life should be easy has, in many ways, disconnected us from the reality that struggle is part of the human experience. When something goes wrong, a project at work, a disagreement with a friend, or a setback in our personal lives, our first reaction is often one of frustration, as though life owes us ease. But life doesn't owe us anything. What it gives us are opportunities to grow, and those opportunities often come disguised as challenges. Let me tell you a story that illustrates this point. There's a well-known parable about a butterfly struggling to emerge from its cocoon. A man, watching the butterfly struggle, decides to help by gently cutting the cocoon open. The butterfly, now freed from its struggle, emerges easily, but is unable to fly. What the man didn't realize was that the butterfly needed the struggle to strengthen its wings. Without the challenge of breaking free on its own, the butterfly was left weak and unable to soar. The same is true for us. It's through the struggles in life that we gain the strength and resilience needed to grow. When we avoid challenges or expect life to be easy, we rob ourselves of the opportunity to become stronger. Now let's ask an important question. What if life being hard isn't a bad thing? What if the struggles you face today are actually preparing you for a greater purpose? Think about it. Some of the most rewarding experiences in life come after the hardest battles. Whether it's overcoming a health issue, rebuilding after a financial setback, or working through a difficult relationship, the satisfaction you feel after overcoming these challenges is what makes life meaningful. The Stoics would remind us that life's challenges are not something to fear, but something to embrace. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how, said Friedrich Nietzsche, and the Stoics would agree. When you have a purpose, when you understand that life's difficulties are shaping you into a better version of yourself, you begin to see them as necessary parts of your journey. So, what's the lesson here? The next time you find yourself thinking, life should be easy, challenge that thought. Recognize it for what it is, a lie that keeps you stuck in a mindset of frustration and avoidance. Instead, embrace the truth that life is meant to challenge you, to push you beyond your limits, and to help you grow. The difficulties you face are not there to break you, they are there to build you. Every time you face a challenge, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How is this making me stronger? The Stoics would tell you that every obstacle is an opportunity for growth, and the sooner you start seeing life's challenges in that light, the more empowered you'll feel. At the end of the day, life is not about avoiding difficulties. It's about facing them with courage, resilience, and a mindset of growth. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Life's challenges are inevitable, but how you respond to them is always within your control. You can either see them as barriers, or you can see them as opportunities to become stronger, wiser, and more capable. The choice is yours. So the next time life feels hard, remember this. It's not supposed to be easy. And that's exactly what makes it meaningful. As we've explored the 12 lies we often tell ourselves, it's clear that these misconceptions can hold us back from living fully. From believing that fear is a weakness to thinking that life should be easy, we've uncovered how Stoic principles can guide us to see the truth and take control of our lives. Remember, life is about growth through challenges, not avoiding them. If you found value in today's video, I encourage you to reflect on these ideas and think about how you can apply them in your daily life for personal growth and happiness. Which of these 12 lies have you told yourself, and how will you work to overcome it? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to A Stoic in Your Life for more insights on how to live with strength and wisdom every day.